What's up everybody, Jared here with carbuzz.com, and this week I am driving a very special car, both in terms of the actual vehicle and in terms of the color. This is the 2022 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392. There is a lot to dissect there, so let's get on into it, starting with the color. You've probably noticed that already. It's called Tuscadero Pink. This is a limited edition color for the 2022 model year. It's named after Pinky Tuscadero, who was Fonzie's girlfriend on Happy Days, if you're old enough to remember that show. I think this color is absolutely outrageous. It makes it look like a Barbie Jeep, which is totally hysterical, but the fact that this is a Rubicon 392 model means that it's a lot more aggressive than your average Barbie Jeep. Now you'll notice we have this black grille. That's an optional extra. It will be body color on most 392 Rubicons, but this one happens to have that optional black grille. You're also going to notice some bronze accents. So right here on our big, massive Wrangler bumper, you're going to notice some bronze hooks. Right here, you're going to notice bronze accents elsewhere around this vehicle as well, including this big bulged hood where you're going to notice our 392 emblem. That, of course, refers to the engine, which is a 392 cubic inch V8. And in America, we like to say liters, oddly enough, on our engines. So that's 6.4 liters. 392 is what they used to call it in the good old 60 days. And we also have our Rubicon stickers on there as well. Now I'm going to show you that engine because it's really easy to pop the hood on a Jeep. You just undo those little straps right there, and I will show you what's under the hood of this monster. So that is the same engine that you're going to get in a lot of Dodge products like the Charger and Challenger Scat Pack. 470 horsepower, 470 pound-feet of torque. That is more than any other Wrangler ever, which is why this is the fastest Wrangler that Jeep has ever produced. And you're going to hear that a little bit later on in this video. It sounds outrageous. But the engine is not the only part of the performance story here. Jeep has done a lot, including this Hydra Guide system. So you'll notice this big intake system here, this funnel. So it's actually going to take water away from the engine. So you can ford massive amounts of water in this vehicle. And it will actually, even if it's above the hood height, it will funnel that away from the engine. The water comes in through here. It is super cool. It is super awesome, the amount of off-roading you can do in this. This is probably the most capable Wrangler you're going to be able to buy because it is, of course, based on the Rubicon, the most trail-rated Jeep possible. You're going to get 35-inch tires standard on a 392, but we have an optional Recon package, which is going to give us 35-inch tires, which is crazy. 35-inch tires, and all Wrangler 392 models also get a 2-inch lift kit. We also ride on Fox shocks, which is going to give this incredible off-road capability. So we've got the Fox shocks, we've got a 2-speed transfer case, and this is beefed up to handle all of that V8 power. We've got Dana 44 axles, we've got locking differentials, we've got the typical Rubicon stuff like a sway bar disconnect and a 48:1 crawl ratio. And then to handle that V8 power, we've got upgraded frame rails, upper control arms, cast iron steering knuckles, and we even have an off-road plus mode that is going to allow us to lock our rear differential while still in four-wheel high. Now Jeep says that with all of that stuff I just told you about, this is their most capable Wrangler ever. So you look at the front here and just look at how much ground clearance we have with that optional suspension. 10.3 inches of ground clearance, actually a little bit more with that Extreme Recon package. Our approach, departure, and breakover angles are excellent. 44.5, 22.6, and 37.5 degrees respectively. And as I said, you can ford a ton of water, 32.5 inches to be exact, because that Hydra Guide can funnel 15 gallons of water away from that engine per minute. It's absolutely outrageous. And I love the bronze accents that I showed you. We've got bronze 17-inch bead lock capable wheels. Those look great. Bronze around the Rubicon, bronze on the trail rated badge up here, bronze on our Jeep logo. I'll give you a second to look at all of that stuff. Now we've got the 4-door Wrangler. Unfortunately, you can't get a 2-door Wrangler Rubicon 392. That would be hilarious. We do have the standard hard top roof on the 392 model. Jeep chucks that in as standard. You can also pay $2,000 more if you want to get the Power one-touch sky top, which I think is great on something like this. You just push a button and it retracts the roof. You don't have to disassemble it like you do on this Jeep. We again have our full-size spare back here, 35, because we have the Extreme Recon package. This is also a beefed up tailgate back here because this is a massive tire to have being held on here. It opens sideways like all other Jeeps. Because we have the hard top, you then lift up this glass. I like this a lot better than the soft top, although it is a little bit harder to take the roof apart. We do have our bags back here if you want to take apart the roof. We also have some storage underneath here where you can put in all of your screws and stuff if you're going to take off the roof, take off the doors, and have the full open top experience. Now, the trunk space back here is not as big as a normal SUV of this size, but that's just one of the compromises that you get for having a Jeep Wrangler and its off-road capability versus like a normal crossover. You can fold down these seats pretty easily. You just kind of have to reach in here, and they do fold relatively flat, as you'll see. So the four-door Wrangler is pretty darn practical. We also have our Alpine speaker system here. I'll talk a little bit more about the interior when we get in there. But to finish off with the exterior, I just want to show you the coolest part about this Wrangler 392, which is down here. We've got our quad exhaust. You can just see this big exposed muffler hanging down here. You can kind of see those Fox suspension shocks down here as well. We're gonna get a little bit of a taste of these exhaust pipes out on the road. But before we do, let me just give you a taste of what they sound like stationary. All right, so now that we checked out the exterior, let's go ahead and take a tour of the inside of the Rubicon 392, which is not super different from a normal Wrangler, so this will probably be the shortest section. I do want to mention that Jeep did not send us a Wrangler Rubicon with running boards, so it is quite a big step up. You're going to want to take full advantage of these handles here on the A-pillars because it is quite a lift up. We'll go ahead and shut the door. We have very thin doors here on the Wrangler because of course they are removable, and we'll go ahead and fire up our push button start. You'll see our vintage Jeep logo there, and then it turns into the 392 logo. I think that is kind of cool, kind of kitsch. You know, these Wranglers are very kitsch. The first thing you'll notice is that this steering wheel is different from a standard Wrangler. We've got nicer bolsters with perforated leather here. We've also got bronze stitching that is going to match our bronze accents on the outside. We also have paddle shifters. This is the first time we've ever been able to get paddle shifters on any Wrangler, so that is a cool touch for this 392 model. The rest of it is pretty much the same. Those are the familiar Wrangler gauges that you should be used to. By now you can control them using the buttons on the steering wheel, so you can have your fuel economy, your trip information, your audio, different off-road information as well, a full speedometer, vehicle info. So here are some of the gauges that you can have: oil temp, oil pressure, a lot of different ways to configure this screen, which is quite cool. We do also have adaptive cruise control on this Wrangler, but it does not slow you down to a stop, which is a little bit annoying. This is the same 8.4-inch Uconnect touchscreen that you get in other Wranglers, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, although neither one of those is wireless like the newer Uconnect 5 system with the bigger screen. I'm assuming the Wrangler will get the larger screen at some point, but this screen is just fine. It works very well. We have our climate controls down here. They are automatic. We have heated seats, heated steering wheel as well. This button is unique to the 392. This is our loud exhaust mode. It makes a huge difference, as you've already heard and you'll hear out on the road. There is like no rumble right now. click it, and then there is a rumble coming from that exhaust. I love this button. It is very fun to play with. There's your traction control off as well. The rest of the controls are pretty similar. You've got your auxiliary switches, so you can plug in lights and other stuff like that. You have your front and rear differential locks. This is to control your four-wheel high, four-wheel low. The only different button is going to be this off-road plus button, so that's going to allow you to put it into four-wheel high but still keep that rear diff locked. That is going to allow you to do some impressive slides. Some other things I should maybe mention: the seats are pretty similar to what you'll get on other Rubicon models, although they do have Rubicon 392 stitched into the back. We've got our sort of black dashboard trim right here. I don't know if you can get this in body color, because that would be really cool if you could have the Tuscadero pink. We have the Gorilla Glass, which is very durable. That's great for rock trips. And we do have the hardtop roof, so you just undo 1, 2, over here 3, and then take off the sun visor 4, and then this will just remove. It does have this extra sound deadening as well. Wranglers are not the quietest of vehicles, and even with that sound deadening, it's not super quiet in here. Luckily, you've got those big Alpine speakers right here behind your head. They do actually a great job of keeping out some of the noise. And I will show you the back seats as well, because some people are going to buy this Wrangler as a family car. The Unlimited Wrangler, the 4-door model, has a decent amount of legroom back here. Obviously, a lot of headroom as well. We'll go ahead and crawl in, and you see I have plenty of legroom back here. Got my own air vents, window controls. I've got USB and USB-C ports down here, which is quite nice as well. And I already showed you how easy it is to fold down these seats. You just grab this handle and these fold basically flat. Now it's time for the main event: finding out what it's like to drive a Jeep Wrangler with 470 horsepower, because Wranglers are always pretty underpowered. They don't really get out of their own way, especially when you're at high speeds, but this Wrangler is a little bit different. So what we're gonna do is, we have the loud exhaust mode on, and I guess I'll turn the traction control off, but that's pretty much it. There's no sport mode or anything else like that. There's no launch control. All I'm gonna do is put my foot on the brake and brake torque it. So let's go. Oh, the whole chassis twists. Oh my God, it gets off the line quick. That is 0 to 60 in about 4.5 seconds. And if you keep your foot mashed, Jeep says you'll do the quarter mile in about 13 seconds. That is ridiculous for a Wrangler. These things are usually so slow, but this one is ridiculously fast in just about any gear. It doesn't matter. It just downshifts and you're off. And I mentioned that this is the first Wrangler to have paddle shifters, so let's go ahead and play with the manual mode. It's not the quickest manual mode I've ever experienced, but really lets you take full advantage of that V8 engine. The one thing is though, if you miss your shifts up at the top there, it does this weird thing. Watch. It kind of stalls for a second. It goes and it shifts really hard. So you kind of have to be on point with your shifting if you're going to do it manually. You just can't let it get to that rev line, or else it does kind of bog down a little bit. So, oh my God, that straight line speed is absolutely hilarious for a Wrangler. But let's talk about the other elements of driving this. The steering, for example. It is the same as any other Wrangler, which is to say, pretty terrible. It's a recirculating ball steering rather than like a rack and pinion like the Bronco uses. That means there is like no feel through this steering wheel whatsoever. That's fine when you're off-roading. You don't really want that much feel, but on the road, this Wrangler isn't exactly sporty, although the engine most certainly is. I gotta do a launch again. Sorry, I gotta show you this. So the whole chassis like torques. You can feel the whole thing twisting as you do this launch, because it's just so much power going through this frame. Ready for it? Oh, it like picks up a wheel. And then the transmission programming is changed for this 392 model. It is smart enough to do sort of like drag racer power shifts. So it is a little bit different than the transmission tuning you're gonna get on a regular Wrangler, and you could definitely feel that. So I love the engine. It is totally intoxicating. And if you are ever annoyed by it, you just push that exhaust button, the whole thing quiets down and you can kind of barely hear it. It is a little bit drony on the highway in the loud mode, and then you go ahead and push that exhaust button and then it's completely silent. I love vehicles that can be super loud and super quiet at the press of a button. And the rest of it, it's kind of loud. You know, it's a Jeep, you know, the roof isn't that well insulated compared to a normal SUV. The ride is a little bumpy. You know, you've got those big chunky off-road tires. I think the suspension is actually a little firmer than a traditional Wrangler. I'm kind of hoping that Jeep does a Gladiator Mojave 392, because I felt that the Mojave amongst the Wrangler and Gladiator models had the softest suspension out on the road because it was tuned for Baja. So if they did a Mojave 392, I would be all over that. But even without that, I think that this Wrangler 392 is just absolutely a hilarious experience. It is so much louder and more visceral than a standard Wrangler with a V6 engine or the 4-cylinder or the plug-in hybrid drivetrain. It is just so much fun to drive. You're basically getting two vehicles in one here. You're getting a muscle car and an off-roader wrapped in one vehicle, and there's really just nothing else that you can drive like that. So that was the Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392. If you want this badass Wrangler, pricing is gonna start at just over $77,000, but there is a lot of options that you can still add on top of that. I believe the one that Jeep sent me here is right around $83,000, $84,000. That is a ton of money to spend on a Wrangler, but you're kind of getting two cars in one. You're getting the off-road capability of a Jeep Wrangler, and you're getting the muscle car feel of a Dodge Charger Scat Pack. And honestly, those two vehicles combined are just so much fun. There are other vehicles that you could look at that offer similar performance. Ford is coming out with its Raptor version of the Bronco. That's going to have a twin turbocharged V6, which probably won't sound as good as this. And Land Rover offers a supercharged V8 in its Defender. I just drove one of those. Be sure to check out that video. That car is actually more powerful and a little quicker than this Jeep, but it is a lot more expensive and it does not sound this good. So if you're looking for the ultimate Jeep Wrangler, this is it. We really hope you've enjoyed this look at the 2022 Jeep Wrangler Rubicon 392. For more videos like it, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel and ring the notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. And if you want to read more about the Rubicon 392, be sure to check out carbuzz.com. I'll see you next time.